story time for you. First of all, happy Monday. It is a work from home day. I'm going to log in a minute and start working, but I wanted to share this very intriguing story that happened back last year in the spring when I first started school. I go to BCTC, but they sent out an email with an opportunity for whoever wanted to participate to go and tour the College of Ag at the University of Kentucky. That's agriculture. Matter of fact, that's probably what is going to be next for me after I finish at BCTC. Anyway, while we were there, one of our sessions was at the food science department. Incredibly, I had a blast. First of all, I learned that I do much better with hands-on and in classroom. So I think when I go back to class, start back to class, I think I'm going to take some in-person stuff. But anyway, that's besides the point. So we went to food science and we were in the class and they did a few experiments, but there's one in particular that I wanted to tell you about that I think is very appropriate for just some of the things that I spoke about yesterday and just in general, the times that we live in. So one of the experiments that they did was that they gave all of us a piece of paper and a pen, and they gave us two different kinds of jello. One of the jellos was green and one of them was purple. Now, this is a department that does all kinds of food experiments, and they also learn how to market and different things. And so, very interesting. It's a class I would love to go to food science. But anyway, so they had us to taste both of the different kinds of jello and to write down what flavor the jello was. So the first one that we tasted was green. Now, traditionally, when you see green jello, what comes to your mind is that it's lime. At least that's what I think, and that's what probably most people would assume. So when we tasted the jello, in our mind, because we're used to the fact that lime jello is green, although it didn't 100% taste like lime, your mind wanted to say that's what it was because it was green. It looked like lime, therefore it's lime flavored. And it's like, it was so weird because your mind did everything it could to make it taste like lime, even though it was kind of, you really couldn't tell. So there was what they call kind of a cognitive dissonance where where you're holding two different opinions, and so your mind is trying to figure out how to rationalize one thought or feeling from another. So although you're seeing one thing in your mind wants you to taste something that is not there, right? So anyway, most of us in the room wrote down lemon or lime is what most people wrote down, even though sitting there, I can tell you now, it didn't 100% taste like lime, but we couldn't figure out what it was, right? That was the confusion that it caused. The next one that we took was the purple jello. Normally, when you think of purple, you think of grape. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't really, maybe there is grape jello. I don't know. I've never had grape purple jello before. So I'm thinking maybe it's grape, maybe it's, blue raspberry, which a lot of stuff that's blue raspberry is purple. And so, various ones of us wrote down different things. There was one young man in class that named a different flavor, and pretty much everybody was like, no, that's not what that is. One lone person stood out. So, anyway, at the conclusion of that, she told us to taste it again. And she said, what if I told you the green jello was strawberry? And I thought, it didn't taste nothing like strawberry. However, once she introduced information and introduced truth and said, okay, taste it again, tasted the jello, and sure enough, it was absolutely strawberry. But my taste buds could not pinpoint the flavor because the fact that it was green was interfering with the truth. So our minds were trying to make us taste something that wasn't there. That's crazy. It was so weird. I'm telling you, I had the oddest sensation. So then she told us to, what if I told you that the purple jello was orange? I thought I didn't taste orange when I tasted that. Sure enough, I tasted again. Clear as day. It was orange jello. When I tell you that was wild and such a teaching lesson, and that's how a lot of these things work. That's how what's the word that I'm looking for? That's a lot of times how we can be tricked and fooled because we go with our eyes. Sometimes you got to close your eyes to get the truth. Do you hear what I'm saying? My point to you on this morning is that clearly what our minds wanted us to perceive and grasp was not correct. We saw what we saw, right? You saw what you saw, and you interpreted it a certain way. A lot of times, what people do is they tell you what you're going to see before you see it. So then, without a doubt, once you see something play out, you may not really be seeing the truth. You're seeing how they framed it to you. So, in this hour, and I'm sorry, this is probably getting a little long, in this hour, it is so important for us, especially and particularly as believers, to ask God to give us discernment. Now, I'm not talking about the gift of discerning of spirits, which is a actual gift of the Holy Spirit that not everyone has, right? The gift of discerning of spirits is the gift of discerning of spirits is a particular spiritual gift that are given to some, not all. However, all of us can be strengthened in our discernment, right? To help us to be able, even when you think you see something or you think something is something. I have been praying probably for about 9 years now. God help me to separate my emotions from situations. Help me to see what is not readily apparent, to hear what is not is that is not being spoken, right? To see behind things, to see above them, to see below them. Can I tell you, everything is not what it seems, and it is so important for us in this season, uh, for our discernment to be sharper than ever. What that experiment taught me, because I tend to think of myself as a person. Now, I just do. We probably all think this, right? In our pride, we probably all think we're the type of person who is not easily fooled, right? I say I've been a skeptic all my life, and I'm not determined yet if that's good or bad, if that's a strength or a weakness. I've not determined. But I've been a skeptic all of my life. So I tend to go into things with skepticism, disbelieving you, and you having to prove what you're saying is true, as opposed to coming in, believing you, and then figuring out that you're a liar. So I've been a skeptic all of my life, right? Um, so, like I said, in some cases that has worked for me, in some cases maybe not. But my point is, we have to be so careful, especially again in the days and times that we're living in, when everyone wants to fool you, wants to propagandize you, who wants to present certain narratives to you that we then accept, and then we can't accept anything else, even when truth is introduced. And this is one thing that I always say, especially in regards to the media. They do not report the news they created. There used to be a time when there was journalistic integrity, like a long time ago, a long time ago. We're way past those times now. So, anyway, what we have to be is led by truth. We have to ask the Lord for the truth, ask the Lord to help us to see what is and to not see what isn't. Okay? So, anyway, I'm about to hop on and start working, but I just thought that that experiment was intriguing. And when I tell you the feeling that came over me when she said, "Now taste it again," and I clearly tasted in that moment what I could not taste before because of what my eyes saw. It's so easy. It's much easier to fool and to deceive us in various ways than we think. And like I said, most of us probably in our pride think, you can't trick me. Most of us probably think that. Can I tell you, it happens much easier and much more on a wide scale than most of us ever thought possible. Anyway, this video has gotten too long. I'm going to get off of here, but you all have a wonderful, wonderful Monday. Stay warm out there. I pray that your power is still on and that you are good, that you have everything that you need. So